I'm Jamie Kudla, president of Tarrytech Computer Consultants. Thank you for joining me for my podcast, Better, Faster, Stronger, where we help New York Metro businesses move forward with tips on motivation, leadership, management, and innovation. Joining us this week is Maria Trusa. Maria is the CEO of Forme Medical in White Plains. She is also the founder of a social movement called Digo No Más. So really excited to hear about that. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you so much for having me here. I always say that it's an honor to be able to be interviewed and your message to continue to be spread, which is my mission. So thank you so much for having me here.
Great. And, so you and I were connected through, a couple colleagues, but I certainly see you, on social media, promoting both Forme and Digo No Más. So I know that you're involved in the community and you're always bringing value to the community. So if you could tell me a little bit about what you do in both Forme as well as the social movement, Digo No Más.
Sure. So I've been in healthcare over the past almost 40 years. I can't believe it.
Started when you were 10.
I know, I feel that way. I still don't feel like I'm 56. I'm very open. One of the things that you're going to find about me is that I am an open book. Literally, I published a book last year and my entire life story is there. So there's my age, whatever I've done, it's there. But I've been in healthcare over 40 years and I've loved healthcare. I wanted to be a doctor since I was a little girl, and unfortunately, life takes different turns, and I ended up coming here. I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic, and
How old were you when you came over from Dominican Republic?
When I was 15 years old, and I definitely had many challenges coming here. I got married at the age of 17. I had a child at the age of 20. So becoming a physician was no longer a dream that was possible for me with all the responsibility and really not being prepared to be a wife or be a mother at that age. So I decided to go to medical assistant school and I ended up developing an amazing career out of being a medical assistant. I ended up working at Scarsdale Medical Group for, which is a very prestigious practice in this community where we live in Westchester. But, I was there for 26 years. And I'm not going to go over all the details because we're going to concentrate on the business that I own right now, which is Forme Medical Center and Urgent Care. But the reason this idea of Forme came to me, it was because I was serving the affluent community, but I come from an underserved community. And I lived with the underserved community, even though I had an amazing career, done very well. I had financial freedom. I was able to develop, I was able to buy my house. I had my housekeepers, my family members. Not everybody got to the point that I got. So I was always in conflict within myself that here I am, I know what healthcare should be like, but it's not the healthcare that my own family is getting, including my mother, who was on Medicaid, and I had to take her to the clinics. And I would see the difference between the two healthcare system. And at one point, I decided in 2015, especially after going, we all have catalysts in our lives. So I had a catalyst in 2014 where I almost lost my life. I had breast implants that one of them just burst one day. And to make a long story short, I ended up having five different surgeries within a month. And in one of them, I almost lost my life. I mean, my children came to say goodbye to me.
This is in 2014 or
2014.
Wow.
Yeah, my family came to say goodbye to me. They thought I was going to die. And that was the catalyst for me to say, I don't care how much money I'm leaving on the table. Money took a different meaning for me. I said, I know I've been giving that opportunity to really become an expert in healthcare so that I can figure out a way to provide healthcare the right way with dignity, being culturally sensitive to the community that was my community. So I left in 2015. People thought I was insane, including my own mom. My ex-husband was not supporting me.
So when you left there, were you leaving to start something, or you didn't know what you were going to do? You just kind of took a leap of faith and said, "I'm going to figure this out," or you already had something in the works?
So Jamie, I am living proof that what you think, what you speak, you create if you believe in yourself. So I just had the vision. To me, it was a vision. I got a calling. I'm going to create a medical center dedicated to the underserved community with a strong focus on the undocumented population, with the people that don't have access to insurance. And I was going to figure a way to provide this dignified care, quality care, and being culturally sensitive to the point where I wanted to be open every day. I envisioned all of this. I didn't have a plan. I said to my ex-husband, I said, listen, I cannot be at work and create this because I was the executive director.
Right, that's a full-time job. I mean,
It's a
you're
full-time job.
practice, sure.
Yeah, I said, I've been working for 30 years of my life. I am financially, we are stable. We are more than stable. He was a Wall Street guy. I said, I deserve to be able to take that break because I have this vision that is so vivid that I know I could do it. So I ended up leaving Scarsdale Medical Group, and they were very upset with me because I was there 26 years. And I go out of the blue, just say, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And they're like, is it money? I said, no, it's not money. So to make a long story short, Gina Capelli, who is my business partner, had actually started the business of Forme. She started in urgent care, and she wanted to develop a medical center, but she only had experience in physical therapy, and she was struggling.
Was it a shared vision with Gina, or did you bring your vision into the medical center that she had already started? So she had started something that was probably for profit, and you brought your vision in, and together you're working. I don't want to steal your thunder in your story, but it's just looking
no, she was doing exactly the same thing that Scarsdale Medical was doing. She was building this gorgeous facility. Yeah. They call us the hotel because it's gorgeous. So when she heard that I was leaving Scarsdale, she knew me for about 15 years. And she said, if I can have Maria Trusa come and join me, I can make this work, because she was struggling. The business was, White Plains Hospital was looking into taking over the business and all of that. She was not doing well. So she reached out to me. And at the beginning, I sort of resisted it. I didn't realize that this is the divine connection that was being created for me to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. So I ended up joining Gina in 2015. In 3 months, I gave myself 3 months. I told my family, they could tell you, 3 months, I'm going to own this medical center, and I envisioned that it was going to be beautiful, like Scarsdale Medical. And Gina ended up taking on the vision. She asked me to be a partner, and I said, the only way that I will come here is if we turn what you've created for this vision of helping the underserved community, and the strong focus on the undocumented population and the people that don't have insurance. And she said to me, here it is. Take my business. You do what you need to do. I believe in you. I know you can turn my business around. And I know that this is a great cause. And little by little, it was hard.
So what were you saying about the 3 months though? So you started, you talked to Gina, she's on board. She's like, let's do this. And then you said in 3 months, and then you didn't complete that statement.
So when I left Scarsdale, I was telling everyone that in 3 months, I was going to have a medical center. And everybody thought I was insane.
I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Let's see you pull that off.
Including my mom. My mom.
maybe you had that in your back pocket, you knew about it. No, I'm kidding.
No, I am somebody that have lived, and it's in my book. I have lived my life visualizing and thinking big. And whenever I visualize, I so vividly picture it. And I start speaking about it, and then
And then
divine
it comes to
connection
fruition.
takes over. And we make it happen. And, you know, I don't know if you read the book, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz.
I did not.
It's an amazing book. I am the magic of thinking big. It's a book that I would highly recommend to anyone that's starting, especially people that are starting either a new career or a new business.
Did you read that prior to all of this, or you read it along the way and said, wow, this is what I'm doing?
I've read that book 3 times in my life. I've read it prior to when I was at Scarsdale, and then when I came to Forme, I read it again, and then I listened to the Audible book again, because sometimes you need to remind yourself. But I've been on a little bit of autopilot because I now have such a record that I just believe
Right.
whatever
Right. It's become the way that you operate. It's just what you do. So you don't
that's
have
what
to
I
think about it too much. You've trained, you've coached yourself to be to this point, and that's kind of the way that it goes. So 2015, you start Forme, or you join with Gina, and you're with Forme Medical. And where have you guys grown to now? What does the business look like today?
So we started with about 1,100 patients, and we are close to 30,000 patients 5 years later.
35,000, is that what you said?
30,000, close to
30,000. Wow,
30,000.
that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's COVID has definitely put us at another level, and I'll go over that. But at the beginning, Jamie, this was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. First of all, I went through a divorce. God tested me pretty much, I would say, every week. He said, okay, I'm gonna see if you really want this from your heart. So he tested me. I come into a place where the structure was completely shaken. There was no structure. So I had to start rebuilding the structure. I go from getting paid over $300,000 to not making any money. And then I go and I start getting divorced. So through the first few years, I decided, and all happened because of, I mentioned, I almost died. I reflected in my life and I realized what was serving me and what wasn't serving me. And I went on a mission to really create more of what was serving me. And so I decided to leave Scarsdale Medical. I decided eventually to leave my ex-husband. We had a toxic relationship for almost 10 years. And I went on this journey with Gina, and now I don't have money. I'm going through a divorce. Things were so ugly, and I talk about it in the book. You know, I remember I saw one of your questions is that, you know, is there anything you don't want to talk about? And I talk about everything because I'm
I
in
was
it.
going to say in the beginning, before we started talking, I was going to say, and I normally ask that question to the people that I'm talking to, is there things that you want to talk about or don't want to talk about? But we had talked, last week, and just knowing who you are, I didn't even ask that question because you said, my life's an open book. So I said, okay, we're just going to go with that. I didn't even ask that question today to
Love
start.
it. Love it. Thank you for doing the homework before the interview. I love it. It makes more of an interaction, you know, in more productive. Definitely, I tell it like it is. And you know what, Jamie? Because I got to a place where I'm not afraid to be judged, because whoever is judging me, they have things that we can judge.
But you know what? That's great that you've gotten to that place, and I know that your book has information on it, and that's the message that you preach, and that's what you're doing. But it's not an easy thing to do, right? So I mean, a lot of people say, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do whatever I want, and I'm not going to care. But saying and doing are two completely different things. But clearly, you embody this, and it's working real well for you. So, Forme Medical is thriving, and it's based on, obviously you being brave and going out there and doing something that you really feel, but obviously that it doesn't stop there. I mean, you're pretty successful in accomplishing what you set your mind to. So a lot has happened. That's really an amazing story.
Yeah, I love what you just said, that being brave, because that is what it takes to really be able to be an entrepreneur.
Even when you're doubting yourself, right? Or even when some of the circumstances don't look like they're going your way, you still have to be brave. You still have to push through that.
I love it. I mean,
it's like they say, with the duck, you have to be on the surface, you have to be calm, but your feet are doing this, the flippers are doing this underneath. So everyone sees the calm, the serene, and that's where the brave part comes in. But you're working hard, right? It might look easy on the surface, but that's not always the case.
Cool, calm, and collected is my motto.
That's right.
So you're embodying all of my
your characteristics. Values. So tell me a little bit about your Digo No Más. This is an exciting social movement. I know about it, but I want to hear from your mouth, what's going on with that, and what do we need to know about this movement, to help people in the community?
Yeah. So when you said brave, it sort of brought me back to my childhood, and it brought me back to what I always think of, that I became a woman that does not fear much. I don't have many fears.
Were you born that way, or that's something you developed?
No, that's why I wrote the book, because I come from a background where I was sexually abused at the age of 9. And I have a very dark, very sad, very traumatic past. And the worst thing about the rape, and rape is rape, and it is something that destroys you. And sometimes most of the time, unfortunately, it can destroy you for life. So when you add to that my father, who is supposed to be my protector, was actually the man that gave me to his friend to brutally rape me and almost take my life.
That's shocking. That's terrible. To say that's terrible is an understatement.
Yeah. So for that story, you're going to have to buy my book. I Say No More is in Spanish and English. And by the way, whenever you buy the book, half of the proceeds are going to the movement. And I'll talk more about the movement. But the story, and when people read my book, that the first chapter is where I talk about that night when I was raped, and it was brutal. And I give so many vivid details that I get so many people that text me or send me in social media a message saying, I just want to hug that little girl. I want to hug and help her feel safe. Mm-hmm. Because with me telling the story the way it is, I am hoping that people would, first of all, understand more what is destroyed when someone is raped. So people could be more sympathetic and empathetic. And then I'm hoping that someday, and this is one of those visual big ideas that I have, that I will be speaking in front of people that are the rapist. And I wanted someone that could be doing this, that possibly could be reading my story, that they could realize what they're doing, because sometimes those rapists are people that have been raped before.
I have to believe too that in the detail that you give, with what happened to you with the rape, in giving those details, I got to believe that, and I know you're going to talk more about the movement and what it's about, but I would think that it would encourage other people, it would let other people understand that terrible things have happened to other people, to make them more comfortable to talk about what happened to them. So, absolutely, if you're speaking with somebody that had these horrible things happen to them, it's got to be easier than talking to somebody that didn't have those things happen. It's like a peer group, something where you can share those feelings. So that, I give you a lot of credit. I mean, that again, amazingly brave that you're able to do something like that.
Thank you.
Go ahead and share that.
Thank you. It's so that in itself was a trauma in my life that really affected what I call the 5 fronts of my life. We have 5 fronts. If you think about it, we have our body. So what is the relationship with our body? Imagine what rape, especially when you're a child, what it does to you with your relationship with your body. Then the relationship with your family, that gets broken. It becomes a generational thing. And in our Latino culture, and that's what the movement is about, this rape, it is something that is a silent pandemic affecting your body, your family, your finances, your spiritual connection, and your ability to enjoy life. All of that.
Can you talk about, you just said that it's a pandemic in your community. Can you talk about, and I know the story here as well, talk about how you came about writing the book and the revelation that you had when you were talking with the other women?
Yeah. So my sons, I have 3 kids. I have a 37, 31, and a 13-year-old daughter. And my son, Jeffrey, who's my 31-year-old, we were in Colorado skiing, and we were waiting for my other son, Franco, to get there. And there was a delay, and him and I, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're having a glass of wine. And he says to me, "Mom, you cannot leave this earth without telling your story. You cannot." He said, especially for your Latino community, like the impact that you can have. How do you go from that to being a successful CEO, a woman that has financial freedom, a woman that has a relationship with her kids that is beautiful, a woman that has learned to enjoy life? So that started, the seed was planted by him. And then I was asked to be in a documentary, and everything started. And then I decided I'm writing the book. And I told my kids, I'm going to write this book, but it's going to be raw. I'm going to talk about your dad and the relationship that was extremely toxic. I was 17 years old, and I said, and I'm not holding back, because I'm giving myself to everyone that is out there that needs to see what trauma like sexual abuse does to your life. And I also took them through the process of repairing that I went through, and why. How did it start? What were my catalysts? How did I get to have the financial freedom that I have? How did I get to be able to, these 5 fronts of my life, to be able to repair them to the point where I feel complete? That's what so when one of the nights, the way that's how the book started. So I have a house in Vermont. I call it Escapo. It is where I escape. I'm going there on Friday, and I'm excited just thinking about it. And I take women. I love mentoring, especially the Latino community. So I took 10 women to Vermont, Latinas, that I was going to show them what Vermont is about and how amazing this place is, in a way of living differently that they're not used to. So we were in the jacuzzi, and I started talking about my story. They never heard the story. This is 47 years of my life. I kept this quiet. I would not tell a soul. It was in my family, my nieces, my nephew, no one knew what happened to me, which is the case for the Latino community. So when we were in the jacuzzi, and I told them, one by one, 8 out of these women were raped by the grandfather, brother, uncles, cousins, and people close to the family.
That's shocking. You would never expect that.
Never.
It's exactly obviously a silent pandemic.
Yeah. And I discovered the name of the book, I Say No More. It's actually Yo Digo No Más. It was from me being in that jacuzzi, and I was screaming, crying. And I say no more. I say no more. And I decided that this movement was going to be created that night. I said, I will be the voice for the voiceless. I will not, until I die, I don't care what it takes for me to get this out there, that we have a silent pandemic that no one talks about in the Latino community, that is suppressing and oppressing and destroying the future generation. That was not going to happen to my kids, my grandkids. That is not in my watch. Is going to be a different story. And it's going to take me, many people said to me, do you realize what you're doing? Like, not only I had to get comfortable that I'm going to be talking bad about my culture. It's at the beginning, I felt like I was betraying my culture. We already deal with enough.
All that head scratch. I mean, it's real, right? So I mean, on the other side of it, you look at it and you could say, some of that stuff is silly, and why would I think that, differently about betraying, the society that, did so much damage to you? But it's real. So I mean, it's very difficult to work through that, but you did it.
Yeah, I decided, and I think, Jamie, that part of it is I'm present to a calling that I had. This is a calling.
So
when you put all the pieces together.
So what's the message behind your Digo No Más? And actually, let me put it out there right now, how somebody could contact you and get in touch with your Digo No Más if they have something. Obviously, you're going to share the message, but please include information that they could reach out and get help or contribute where needed.
So our website is yodigonomas.com, and the website, I would say by the end of this month, it will be in English. We started it in Spanish because obviously that is the population that I'm trying to really impact right now. So it's already full blown. We have Instagram, Digo No Más. We have Facebook, and then I have my own personal brand. I have a page, mariatrusa.org, and in that personal brand page, I have a podcast that is conversations reflecting with Maria, which is my favorite words are reflecting and resetting. Reflecting and resetting. So this is how you can get access to my podcast that I share and buy the book. You can buy the book in Amazon. It's in Spanish and English. The Audible is in Spanish. The Audible will be in English soon. I'm hoping by the end of March. But the social movement is to bring awareness of the silent pandemic and start getting people to tell their story. And in creating a platform where people could also ask for help. So when you start dealing with, because we think that we're okay, this happened to us when we were kids. So you sort of say, that was my past. It's okay. I'm okay.
You build up some walls and you feel like you moved on, but I don't know how you do, unless you get help in counseling and support.
Oh, it's a Titanic waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I was watching yesterday. There was a documentary that was talking about how in the Titanic, supposedly they have a new theory that there was a fire that had started in the bottom of the boat, and that it was there for a few days, and that nobody had noticed. This was according to the new findings. And I was thinking, I was talking to someone that was putting it a correlation to life, right? That we all have a fire that is brewing, all of us. There are things that are not serving you. There are things that are not working for you, but you are covering it up. And this is what happens with victims of rape. You cover it up. To everybody, you're okay. But
you put a facade, right? Everything is great.
Completely. Look, there are so many women and men that get raped, and they have a problem with their bodies. They gain weight. Many of the women, many that I know that have been raped, and unfortunately, it's too many. They're overweight. That fire that is
Defense
brewing.
mechanism
Say
on
it
some
again.
level. It's got to be some kind of defense mechanism or, coping mechanism. I'm sure that's part of it.
Well, if you think about it, your body, because of your body, you got raped. So your body, you're going to do everything you can, first of all, not to even be attractive. You're going to do everything because you're resenting your body. It makes no sense. People could tell you it makes no sense.
But in
But
reality, that's the way the mind works.
exactly. So Yo Digo No Más is going to bring support, psychology support. We're going to be creating workshops. We're going to be educating in school. I am finishing up a booklet that we want to bring to the schools. And we want, because the idea is also to prevent. The idea of the movement is to prevent, is to deal with the damage that is now, and also then repair these people that have been going through this, and give them different avenues that the movement can help them. And I created a show that the show is Yo Digo No Más. It's a show that is another platform where people can come out and tell their stories. My niece happened to be a doctor in psychology, and she's my co-host. So we are going to bring victims that actually want to speak. Like one of my first guests is going to be someone that her father raped her.
Wow.
And she got pregnant.
Wow.
And she had that child. And that child found out at the age of 21 that he was his grandfather's son.
Wow.
Jamie, if
That's
I tell you that to be,
and I wonder how
a lot
many
of
stories there are like that, that people are keeping to themselves, so clearly that's why your movement exists. And obviously there's people that need those resources and can really benefit from those resources. So clearly you're somebody that's really engaged in the community. I mean, not just from the Yo Digo No Más, but also the Forme Medical. I mean, you're really doing great things. And what a wonderful approach that you have. I love your 5 tenets. I don't know if you call them tenets, but your 5 fronts. And clearly you bring that to your businesses in both CEO or in both Forme Medical and Yo Digo No Más. So it's a real treat to have you on here. And you're such a busy person. First of all, I don't know where you found time to watch a documentary on the Titanic, let alone talk to me. So I really feel great that you've made time for me. In keeping with the format of my podcast, Better, Faster, Stronger, I'm going to ask you a few questions. What's made you better? What's made you faster? What's made you stronger? And I'd like you to share that information. And it can be in relation to your own life. It can be in regards to your past work history for Forme Medical, for Yo Digo No Más, however you want to frame that. So I'm going to start by asking you the first question. What have you done that has made your business, your life, your social movement better?
I will start with what most people don't pay attention to, which is your mind. Mindfulness. I became very, very big into creating a life that is full of mindfulness. Mindfulness is awareness, really understanding myself. I think when you understand yourself, and it's not easy, Jamie, you said it is not easy, but if you start really daily creating these deposits that are going to lead you to creating a life that is full of mindfulness habits. So the thing for me, the biggest are my morning routines. And the morning routines, I'll tell you why, because most people will say, yeah, I can tell you at Forme, we have created a medical membership for the underserved community, the uninsured community. And this is one of the things that excites me the most. It's like, wow, we figure out a way, because we got creative, or how to help the people that don't have insurance. And we have thousands of these uninsured patients. So that in itself is something that is amazing. In the book, in all of that. But it doesn't get created if I'm not being mindful with myself.
When you
If I'm
talk
not,
about being mindful, you're talking about how you feel, your thoughts, the people around you, the circumstances, the things you can control. I mean, I'm just making these things up, but is that what you're talking about? Is there anything that you
yes,
can add to those things?
yes, absolutely. For example, I know what serves me. I've learned what serves me. My body is my temple. So first, when I get up, I'm going to take care of my body. So I work out. I've been working out for the past 30 years, and I do it consistently, even when I go on vacation. It is part of my mindfulness routine. I am getting in touch and centered with my body from the beginning. Then I go and meditate. This is me. I spent about an hour. I don't sleep a lot. I have to say this. I'm being better at that, but I realize also that I don't really need a lot of sleep. And I know a lot of people say that, but I actually bought, I don't know if you heard of the Whoop, which is a watch that monitors your sleep, and it tells you how much you're going into deep sleep, into REM sleep, or light sleep. I am somebody that has learned that when I put my head on that pillow, it's like turning a light switch.
Yeah, yeah. You like those
Why?
down when you lay down, your eyes close.
That's it. It's many people have a hard time falling asleep, and you know why? Because they're they're not concentrating on living life in a mindfulness way. So for me, this is what it means. I meditate. I send a message of love, or not just one, a few messages of love every single day.
Whether that's verbal, via text, via phone, via
I
email.
love voice text and it's normally a voice text because they can feel my passion, right? They can feel what I'm saying. So I do voice text. Then I do a message. I think of someone that I need to ask, how are you doing? Because a lot of people in your life, somebody might have COVID. Somebody might be going through a surgery. And what we do in life is that we're too busy to connect with these people. So that's living life mindfulness. The other thing that I do is I educate myself every single day. Every single day. How? I listen to audible books. I listen to at least 30 minutes of an audible book when I'm taking a shower. I utilize every second of my life. And I know some people might say, wow, that's intense. Guess what? I ski, I snowshoe, I'm a ballroom dancer. I could keep going. I ran the New York City Marathon in 2019. I'm getting ready to do an Ironman relay race with my family. So it's because I live so mindfulness that I'm able to do so
You're able
much.
to do all those things and do them so well and be, really present. I think something that you're talking about too, allowing that mindfulness or being aware of that mindfulness allows you to live in the moment too. And I've picked that up, from various people that, they say when you do something, commit 100%. You're so much more present. You can accomplish so much more, and you really feel connected if you really try and be connected. Turn off your distractions and really be involved in what you're doing.
That's mindfulness.
Yeah,
Being present.
absolutely.
Being present. We just, we live in a very busy life, a lot of distraction. So I find ways like that morning routine. And if you look at the books, if you listen to the people that have reached major success in life and are people that you admire, I've read many books, many, and of people that I admire. They all have had strong morning routines. They all have been people that are mindful,
I've seen that too. Definitely, the workouts and being on that regimen and eating well, and right. It's
waking
just,
up early,
yeah,
waking up early.
it changes your
It-
mood, changes your productivity, changes your concentration. All of that makes a big difference. Yes.
yeah, there are studies that when you are at the peak of of being able to utilize your brain the most creative, this you can find online. Um, from the beginning of the morning, which is usually 5, 6 to 11 o'clock, So that's where they say that your brain is.
I could certainly attest to that too. I get into the office early, those first couple hours before anyone gets here, before you're dealing with a schedule for the day or whatever you need to accomplish. It's silent and you can really concentrate and you're fresh and you can have great creative energy, and I can get so much done at that time. And you know what it's like at the end of the day, if you try and do something creative starting at 5 o'clock, it's not happening. It might for you, but it certainly doesn't for me. I have to do those things in the morning. So I certainly understand what you're talking about there, and am a believer in that as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go through. I mean, there's so many things that I want to continue on this vein here, but I want to move it along a little bit, just to change the topic a little bit. So we talked about better. How about faster? And you could probably even use some of the mindfulness there, but I'm going to ask you to change gears a little bit. And what have you done that, whether it's your business, your life, that you make you faster?
I would say, with Forme, I started really getting very involved in social media, which I never did before.
You're great social media, I will say. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. So I don't know if you have a company that you're working with or if you're doing it, or maybe a little bit of both, but I always see, and it's always very relevant and appropriate social media.
Thank you. Going back to the authenticity and just being yourself. One of the things that I realized when I started on social media, and now I have help. At the beginning, I was doing whatever I could with the team, and now but it's easy for me now because I'm just very authentic. So I'm living life and I'm going to share it with you. And this is what I'm doing, and everything. But that for us has definitely been putting our business out there a lot faster than any other ways. I wanted to figure out, like, how do I advertise with a very small budget?
Start doing that? Is this something that you did, you've been doing since you started in 2015, or is this something that you have ramped up and now you're making a real concentrated effort in the social media posts and using digital formats to get the message out there?
It's I read a book from Grant Cardone, Be Obsessed or Be Average, Sell or Be Sold. And when Grant Cardone, this was at the beginning when I started Forme with Gina, I was like, how do we reach our community? So it came more for me thinking of Facebook, and I said, a Latino community uses Facebook. How do we get the message out that we're here for them? It was more out of desperation, like, how do I get all of these Latinos, but especially because this is a lot.
You don't have $1 million advertising budget, so how can you do it?
Right. We had no budget. I mean, we were like struggling.
No budget.
I put everything I could, Gina, so we're not getting paid. And I'm putting money in the business because I believed. I believed in myself. I believed what I could do. I believed in the mission. And it wasn't like sorry, I'm in my office. It wasn't like a crazy action, and it's not well thought out, but it was something that I said, I'm just going to give it all. And
something that I found, when you're doing stuff like that, because it was probably new, it was different, it was something that you didn't know anything about. So you just decide that you're going to do it, which I know that you're a big believer in, and you put your mind to it, and the right people will come into your life, or you'll find the right information to make it happen. But you don't have to get it perfect. In the beginning, I'm sure it was 80% and you were just putting it out there. And if you're to go back and look at the stuff that you did a few years ago, it might even make you cringe, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I put that out there. But I think that there's a message there, to share, that certainly, obviously, the social media is a way to get the message out there faster, and you can communicate with a lot of people, at the click of a button. But it doesn't have to be perfect, so you don't want to overthink it. So I think the speed in which you're doing it and the consistency that you're doing it too makes a big difference.
That is great. You don't have to overthink it, because I think we overthink a lot, and sometimes you just have to jump. Like there was a quote, oh my God, Steve Harvey says, jump and you're going to get bruised up and you're going to bleed, but the parachute will open.
That's right.
And it's awesome. And that's it. You're not going to get it right. It's trial and error. but you just have to keep going. And
I think that holds some people back too, whether it's in business or trying to find a new client or start a new venture or look for a new building or whatever it is. Just get out there, just start, just do something today. Don't procrastinate, because you're going to be that much further ahead. And I even find myself doing that. So if it's at the end of the day and I know that I need to get something done, sometimes it can be a big effort and it's almost overwhelming on what you can get started on. But sometimes I'll spend a half hour, 45 minutes at the end of the day and just get started, put down a couple thoughts. So the next day when I come in, I'm already 45 minutes ahead, and you look at it through a different set of eyes, and you slept on it and you thought about it, and it's easy to build off of that. So I'm a believer in the pace that you move and using the social media, and sometimes just jumping in, with both feet to get things started.
There is that, we procrastinate, and that is really the destruction of creation, I call it, because when you procrastinate, then the energy to procrastinate that it takes, it's like they say, that monkey in the room, or in your back, and it's just it's so heavy. I love a book from Mel Robbins that it's the 5-second rule. I don't know if you heard it, but she talks about, and I use it. So when you're procrastinating, you go and you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and your brain automatically wants to take an action. So many times when I don't want to make that phone call, because like I have an unhappy patient I have to call, and I'm like, oh, I don't have the energy right now. But I know that I have to call that patient. And the more I procrastinate on calling that patient, the more energy I'm wasting that is affecting my productivity. So I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pick up
I
the phone.
love that. I'm going to use that. I've never heard that before. That's fantastic. I'm pretty good. I can motivate myself, but I'm going to do it now. I'm going to use the 5 seconds. It's fantastic.
I use it a lot in my business. Gina and I joke around, when we don't want to do something.
Like a joke in the office now, almost, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your turn.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, that's funny. So let's move on to the last question here, and I suspect you're the right person to ask this question. What have you done to make yourself or your business stronger?
I have made myself stronger. You have to invest in you. You are the biggest asset to your business, the biggest asset to your family, the biggest asset to your society. You deserve it. And unfortunately, many people don't invest on themselves. I'll tell you one story. When I realized how broken I was when I had my first child, and I didn't want to have this kid. When I saw that it was a boy, I had zero connection to my child. You know what I did? I didn't have money for therapy. I paid for 6 years. I paid a therapist that changed my life. I invested on myself.
This when you were that young? Or this
I was a single mom. I was when I was getting therapy, and I was a single mom at a very young age. I think it was 24, 25. So I went and I took my budget, because I've been very focused on budgets throughout my life, because I come from nothing. I come from hunger, and money to me at the beginning, I had this not good relationship because I worried too much, and then I changed it and I have financial freedom. But I decided at some point that I needed to invest on myself, because if I didn't fix myself, if I didn't invest on myself, my children were at risk. My future were at risk. All these 5 fronts. So you are the person that needs to be the most important person in your life.
It's so true, and I think that some people won't allow themselves that freedom, or allow them to do that. And I say the same thing, and I say it a little bit differently. In the airplane, and I hope you never have to experience this, but in the airplane, you read the card in the back, and it says, when the oxygen mask comes down, it tells you how to put it on and that sort of thing. But they say that you should always put it on yourself first before you help younger children, or others around you that wouldn't be able to do that. And I think that that's a parallel for life. meaning that, you kind of have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. So I love the way that you put that. You have to invest in yourself. And I guess that's another way of saying that. But you do have to feed your own engine, and you have to make sure that you're healthy and you're in a good state of mind so that you can help others around you move forward.
Yeah, it is that simple. Boy, it is hard.
Yeah, right. You make it sound so simple and you make it look so simple. And I'm certain, not really, because I know that you're working hard and you're totally dedicated to this. And I think it starts with that mindfulness and being aware of it and creating a plan and taking action and avoiding the procrastination or working through the procrastination. And there's really, you shared so much information here that I didn't have time to go through and take all the notes, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to take notes. And I'm going to put you on the spot right now. I'm going to ask you if you would be willing. I think I would like to have a follow-up podcast. And I'll give you some time in between this one, and we can connect.
I would love to.
If you would be willing to do that, because I think that you bring so much to the community. I think you have a great perspective. I love your message. I love your energy, and you're doing great things. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Thank you, Jamie. I mean, for me, I said it before, and I'm always honored to be in the interview because of you, someone will be listening to the podcast,
right,
and someone will be affected. And I know that I can, when you read my book, is people would say, "Oh, she has such a good life," whatever. Take a look at where I come from.
Yeah, right.
That anything is possible. That's what I represent in my mind. In Spanish, we say esperanza. Esperanza means hope. And I want to be an agent of hope, an agent of esperanza.
Well, thank you for that. One last question, then I'll let you go. If you could go back to your 17-year-old self, your 10-year-old self, your 20-year-old self, with something that you could share with yourself earlier in your life that you know now, what would that piece of information, what would that bit of advice be to share with your younger self?
Work on learning to love yourself. It's learning to love yourself is so important. We, especially at the age of 17, I hated myself. I dislike myself. I didn't think I was smart. I didn't think I was pretty. I didn't think I was worth much. So I was treated exactly how I thought of myself.
Interesting, yeah.
I'm trying to teach my daughter that. My boys have gotten it. They love themselves. They learned. My daughter is 13, so stuff, being 13, but it is the biggest message, and I give it to her as much as I can. In her room, she actually has little sticky notes in one of the mirrors where it says, "I am beautiful, I am smart, I am strong, I can do anything."
Self-affirmation, very important, and it starts there. Self-awareness, mindfulness.
Yep.
It's all connected. Well, Maria, thank you so much. This is really great podcast. You shared so much information, and thank you for joining us again. CEO of Forme Medical in White Plains and founder of the movement Digo No Más. We will definitely be talking again in the future, and thanks for spending some time with us today and sharing all of your thoughts and wisdom.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.